Hi there, and welcome to our brand new weekly Game of Thrones show called, drumroll, The Last Night's Watch. Hey, hey. It's going to be a weekly show where we talk about the episodes from season 4, all the massive spoilers, the good bits, the not so good bits, and where the characters are going. And we'll also be joined by some incredible celebrity guests along the way. Now, this week alone, we have from the show Ygritte, Sam, Yara Greyjoy, Sir Jorah, Sir Dontos, and even a special guest appearance from none other than Hollywood actress and all-round amazing person, Anne Hathaway. This week, I'm joined by Deputy Online Editor Sam Ashurst.
Hello.
And our Managing Editor, Catherine Twyford.
Hi.
And we are all massive Game of Thrones fans, so basically prepare yourself for massive nerdgasms. So we're going to kick off with basically what you thought of this episode. I think kind of we agreed after watching it that we give it, what, like a 7 out of 10?
Yeah, I think so.
It probably goes without saying that there are going to be spoilers.
Oh yeah.
Loads of spoilers, tons of spoilers, all the spoilers. But yeah, it was a very strong episode. Yeah.
It was full of action and things happening. Some of the past seasons, I think, have had some slow starts. So it was a good, like, action-packed episode where we caught up with all the characters, I think.
Yeah, it feels like they really do have a lot to fit in this season. So it really does hit the ground running.
I think we all kind of thought that even before we sat around to watch it, and we were just thinking, what did happen at the end of season 3? There's so many characters, there's so many plot points. I think this did a really good job of actually juggling a lot of kind of characters.
Bringing everyone back into it and really starting them off. You know, you felt like things were really going to happen. Well, you hope. I really hope that Khaleesi makes it this this season, but you really got a feel for what she was up to. It was a great bit with the dragons. You know, the dragons are massive now, aren't they? So,
yeah, it actually kind of scared me a little bit.
Yeah, and they really
made me jump when the dragon turns and attacks her.
That was definitely one of the best bits.
Yeah,
you know?
definitely.
It's just kind of, you forget, I think she's all like all hippie flower dragon mother, kind of like having this relationship with them, and the moment they drop that kind of goat carcass or whatever it was straight in front of her.
Yeah, she realised that perhaps it wasn't going to be quite as straightforward.
What would you say, what was your favourite bit from the episode?
I liked Arya at the end.
Oh God,
getting her revenge.
Yeah. Oh my God, that was brutal.
She really, she knows how to get her revenge. I think the way she tipped the sword right into his neck right at the end. That was
so slow and measured and kind of masochistic. It was great.
See, my favourite bit was from that scene as well, but it was more the Hound. He had so many great moments in that sequence, but I just loved the whole chicken thing. And like, you know, you're really going to die for a chicken. He's like, someone is. Brilliant.
He's a man of few words, but when he uses them.
So good.
Dropped a C-bomb a couple of times.
Some great dialogue in that part, I thought. I also thought Tyrion waiting to receive the prince at the start, that was quite good.
That was
great. He was ignored by the party coming in.
Yeah,
and then the first scene with Prince Oberyn, I think. Yeah. That was amazing.
I thought he was a great introduction because, again, like not to completely nerd out, but for people who've read the books, they know that's quite a prominent character in a lot of ways, kind of has a massive impact. And I think that was just the whole introduction of that with kind of the weird hypersexual kind of like running through of all the ladies, and then that twisting to the guy, and then it turning into quite scary violence with the stabbing through the hand.
Yeah, you know
he's
going to be a force to be reckoned with, I think.
Now, are we going to be discussing the books as well? Because
to a certain extent, I think you know, if you have seen the books, then you obviously know to a certain extent what's coming. And like us, but Catherine, you haven't read the books.
No, I haven't read the books.
So it's kind of balancing that line. We don't want to spoil anything.
Just that scene, in terms of how they adapt the stuff that we've already seen. I was kind of a little bit disappointed because that scene where Oberyn first comes and meets Tyrion, you get, in the books, you get some really nice backstory about when Tyrion was a baby. So I was a bit sad that they had to cut that out, but obviously there's so much to fit in.
And they left in the good stuff, you know, like you got a sense of, again, there are so many characters, so much backstory, you know why he's there and you know why he's pissed off.
Yeah.
You know, immediately he's like, when it was just that chilling, that when he's saying to Tyrion, like, do you know what happened to my sister? And he's like, she got raped, and then he split her in half with his sword.
Yeah, that's awful.
Well, I presume sword.
Well, who knows? Anything could happen.
Yeah, but that was pretty horrendous. Also, random side note, I was speaking to somebody from HBO the other day who said that on average in each episode so far, been an average of 5.6 boobs. And in this one, you had that kind of like boob moment, there were only 4 boobs.
Yeah, I didn't think there were that many boobs.
No.
No sex, are there? I'm sure it's coming though.
Yeah, there's a lot of kind of bendy nakedness, but no sex.
Well, there was too much to fit in. Not enough time for boobs and sex. I also enjoyed Jon Snow standing before the I don't know what they'd be like.
The Night's Watch.
Yeah, the sort of the head of
X
the
Factor
Night's
panel.
Watch.
Yeah.
And the great moment at the end with old Meister Aemon saying about, you know, how he knew when people were lying and when they weren't lying because he lived in King's Landing. Thought that was a really good end to that scene. But that was quite a good scene. You know, Jon Snow fought his corner for what had happened, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of action at the Wall quite soon.
And we also sort of saw the wildlings and their forces starting to gather, and the sort of rival tribes coming together, and that new tribe, the cannibal dudes, were pretty terrifying.
Really?
I thought. Yeah,
well,
they're very creepy. Come on.
Yeah. But like that little kind of pun at the end about like, ooh, you should taste crow. Wasn't that a bit naff?
Yeah, that was bad.
Yeah,
you
knew there was going to be something in the bag, didn't you? I thought it was going to be someone's head, to be honest. So it was just
It's always a decapitation somewhere. It's and what else? I mean, you had. Well, I personally really enjoyed seeing Cersei and Jaime together for the first time in what felt like forever. And obviously that dynamic has changed somehow, or at least Cersei's kind of playing it like it's changed, but just that weird kind of flirtation mixed with kind of passive-aggressive sexual tension, it was great.
But you know that, you know, Brienne of Tarth's going to come back into that in a massive way, isn't she? I'm sure that...
Do you reckon there's like romantic allusions there? Or do you reckon they're like Brienne and Jaime? Do you think there's anything romantic there? Do you reckon
yeah,
perhaps.
I think they're playing it up on the show, definitely. Really? Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of like you know, like those romantic comedies where they hate each other and then they fall in love with each other. That's exactly how they're playing it at the moment.
It's basically the proposal, but in Game of Thrones.
Exactly.
So I think we can all agree that it was a quite well-paced episode. It was actually quite interesting, kept skipping along.
Yeah, definitely.
Touched in with a lot of different characters, which is really impressive. And was anything you didn't particularly like?
There could have been more Tyrion, I think.
Yeah.
They had that first scene we've mentioned where he thought he was welcoming the prince. That was quite a good one, but I think they were just trying to fit so much in. There wasn't enough time for concentration on him. He's one of the best characters, isn't he?
He is, and he still had some great moments, like where Prince Oberyn says that they need to get some women in, and Bronn's nodding and Tyrion's shaking his head. That's really funny. But
yeah,
we can always do.
Yeah, you want more Tyrion, don't you?
My kind of personal irritation was Sansa, who obviously we know not having the best time, but she's pretty much the grumpy cat of the Game of Thrones world. Sits around moping all day long.
Well, her family has just been killed.
Yeah, but you know, like just that whole kind of ooh, chase me bit in a maze was a bit boring.
And that's weird as well, not to constantly be the book guy, but that relationship between Dontos and Sansa is way more established in the books, and yeah, for him to just suddenly show up.
I didn't know who that was at all.
Exactly.
Like that, they obviously tried to explain it with the whole "you're the knight" that I saw, but it was. I struggled to remember who that was, to be honest.
It wasn't memorable enough, and it was kind of throwaway in season one. That whole, you know, the Joffrey sort of tormenting him and tipping the barrel over him and stuff. It was kind of like, what was that scene about?
Yeah.
But in the book, it's very well established that, you know, they've kind of got a relationship in the book by this point. So
that scene alone did allow for one great sight gag though, which was the Joffrey bronze
statue.
Oh yeah,
yeah, that was
beautiful.
Very good.
Yeah.
So yeah, overall pretty good episode.
Yeah, it was a great episode. Yeah.
Decent season opener, probably the best. I mean, the first one, I loved the first episode from season one anyway, but
yeah.
It's
definitely more action-packed than the season 3 opener, I think.
Yeah.
Cool. So now we're going to run through. It's going to be a weekly thing where we talk about the one major WTF moment of the week, and then also kind of picking out 5 amusing things that we have learned from the Game of Thrones universe. So I think we were universally agreed this week's big WTF moment was Arya going completely badass on Polliver and getting that much kind of deserved revenge.
Definitely.
What did you most enjoy about that?
Just how nasty it was.
She's really nasty though. You don't expect her to. You think she's going to be. You forget. Actually, I'd forgotten how hardcore she is. You think she's going to be a scared little girl, but she was like right in there with the sword.
Absolutely.
And the blood coming out of his mouth, and it was like. Oh.
She made him remember just before she was like.
Good.
Yeah,
okay.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
So we were lucky enough to head along to the big season 4 red carpet premiere in London the other week for Game of Thrones. Sam and I went down, trusty camera and microphone in tow, and we got to speak to some of the stars. Now, they'll be coming up in a second, but one of the weekly segments we'll be running now is we've affectionately called the Wester Crossover. which is exactly as amazing as that sounds. So basically, Sam asked everybody that we met if they could put any other TV show and characters into the world of Westeros, who would they pick? First up, we had Gemma Whelan, otherwise known as Yara Greyjoy, who picked a very interesting comedy to splice with Game of Thrones.
Modern Family. That'd be interesting, wouldn't it?
That would be amazing. How do you think they'd get on with the Lannisters?
Well, I think Phil would take them like... He just wouldn't understand that he was in danger at all, would he? He'd just smile on through and everyone would get horribly confused and... I don't know, they'd be fighting and...
And the Greyjoys?
The Greyjoys. Yeah, no, I think maybe Claire would be worried about our hygiene, or lack thereof.
As we all know, there are some amazing fans out there for Game of Thrones, particularly some who like dressing up. As Sam, no doubt, will regale us with his Daenerys costume in time, we can only hope. We're going to be picking one particularly amazing costume from the internet every single week in our weekly segment, Cosplay of the Week. First up, we have this amazing guy who appeared in MegaCon in Orlando. His name on Twitter is @MikaBethia. And he amazingly basically turned his wheelchair into the Iron Throne. Check it out here, it's incredible. He disguised his cars with fake boots, kind of disguised the wheels with the swords from the Iron Throne. It's pretty spectacular.
While we're at the Game of Thrones premiere, I also talked to the actors about what scene or moment they'd like to put in a Game of Thrones movie if it happens. And so this week, we've got Rose Leslie, who plays Ygritte in the show, talking about her dream movie moment. And just as a warning before you watch this, Rose Leslie, who plays Ygritte, is surprisingly very, very posh.
And lovely.
And lovely. And beautiful. And I love you.
I would love to be in a scene with either Varys, Littlefinger, or Joffrey. I think I'd want to go to King's Landing. I think I'd want to meet those malicious, nasty, conniving characters. And yeah, no, I think that would be it.
And what would Ygritte do to those guys?
Oh God, I think she'd kill Joffrey in a one-er. Kill Joffrey, and then I think she'd have a really long intellectual conversation with Varys. I think Lord Varys. I think she'd take a liking to him.
Now, we're lucky enough that part of our jobs we're able to go and speak to some pretty big Hollywood talent, and much like us, some of them are some pretty big Game of Thrones fans. This week I got to speak to Anne Hathaway, who was promoting Rio 2, and I quizzed her about Westeros. And what do you know? She's actually a pretty big fan.
I love the story, and I'm just so, I'm really, I don't know, moved by the Stark family, and they just can't seem to catch a friggin' break. And I also love watching Khaleesi come into her power, and I think Emilia Clarke is doing an amazing job with that character, and watching her and the dragons sort of mirror each other in their like growth. And also because I haven't read the books, I don't know what's going to happen. So, you know, like the Red Wedding, which I won't go into in case anybody has missed it, like I really did not see that coming. And that was really upsetting. Clearly, I love the show.
Now, as you know, there's some pretty humongous moments coming up in this season of Game of Thrones. And we spoke to some of the stars about what they're excited about. And apparently, next week's episode is going to be pretty big.
Something happens at a wedding. Something very big happens at a wedding. So just look out for the wedding, is what I can say. But I won't say what happens. There's a lot of moments there.
I don't want to give too much away, obviously, but this, I think the second half of episode 2 contains as many WTF moments as you'd expect in an entire season, really. The second half of episode 2 of season 4 is like a little mini-movie in itself. And I think that it's going to be a shock for some people that we hit the ground running with kind of the high-stakes sequences so early. It should be something that you normally expect in an episode 9, but to have it straight away in episode 2, I think that's going to blow people's minds a little bit and just make them think that they're not going to be able to second-guess whatever happens this season. They're going to be constantly surprised as the season goes on. I think we're really going to set our stall out with the quality and scope so early on in the season.
So that's it more or less. Thank you for joining us. Thank you to Sam and Catherine for chatting about Game of Thrones as well, and to all the stars who pitched in this week. Please feel free to come back next week. Comment in the comments below what you liked about the episode, what you didn't like. Remember to follow us at Total Film on Twitter. Look us up on Facebook, Total Film, Google+, and we even have a shiny Tumblr which we'll be shoving loads of amazing Game of Thrones GIFs on. As for next week, well, as we've heard from the stars, we have a feeling it's going to be a pretty big one. To round off, we have a very special message from none other than Jorah Mormont, especially for you lovely fans.
Just keep watching it. You make it the success it is. So please keep watching. And I think this honestly, I know people say that this series is going to be better than all the others. It's just going to get bigger and